when it comes to AI, I mean, every client you're talking to is coming up and saying, okay, can we do this, but can we do it with AI? I'd say 80% of the cases, it's actually not AI that they need. It's just decision trees or logic that they want to have implemented, and then you slap the AI logo on it. They go to corporate and they say, yeah, we did AI, and they're fine. So in 80% of the cases, that's still the case, but I think that's going to shift fairly quickly. A year back, it was all about, implementing chatbots and helping us be more efficient with that. Now it's all about agentic AI. You also know it. It's the buzzword everyone's talking about, right? So they all want certain AI agents that do a job for you, that make things more effective or efficient. And there's awesome things you can build with it. The main problem we see is you build it, 6 months later, it's out of date. That's really the crazy part about it in this current trend or AI wave where everything is getting better at a massive rate.
Hey everybody, it's Roger with Kinsta. I'm joined today by a new friend, Laurent. Hey Laurent, how are you?
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting to talk with you and kind of get more of your perspective on open source and kind of the business around everything. But before we dive too deep into stuff, I'd love to learn more about your story and kind of how you got into digital marketing. Did you go to school for this? How did Laurent happen?
That's a good question. I would say the classical way. I studied business and economics, then started working as a barista at Starbucks, worked my way up as a telesales, selling health insurances over the phone for 3 years. I then joined UBS, big Swiss bank, a global bank, in the interbank marketing, and that's sort of where the marketing area came into play. But then financial crisis hit, 08, 09. I got fired, and that was basically the start of my startup career. So I then joined a Groupon clone in Europe that was growing massively fast. I was responsible for the e-commerce strategy, the whole internet shebang basically back then. So learning how to do that. The company was sold. I had a burnout. Then after the burnout, decided to try it again. Founded another company called Movu, which was a digital moving platform for relocations. Sold that to an insurance company in 2017. Then became the CEO of an ERP company for a couple of years, and since 2022 I'm the co-founder of Holycode, software agency developing for startups and scale-ups across the globe, 400 employees by now. Really deep into the tech tunnel.
Wow. Okay. All right. Lots to unpack here. So, going back just for a quick second, what was the most annoying order at Starbucks?
Well, that's a very good question. I never liked frappuccinos, because they take a lot of ingredients, you mix it, if you don't put the lid on properly, the stuff just explodes and goes everywhere. And then everyone has this, this special, but please put this in and not that. So frappuccinos were really the thing I hated the most. Everything else is cool.
I love it. Yeah, no, I'm always shocked at some people's orders. I'm like, wait, are you getting a coffee or a milkshake? Like, what's happening here? So that's great.
The more sugar, the better.
I love it. All right. So fast forwarding a little bit, you had some fun trying out different businesses, telesales. Hey, been there, done that. And then, had a little bit of a financial crisis, and then you come through and you got into the startup culture. How did you get into startup culture? How did that happen?
Well, my girlfriend at the time was working for a startup, and when I got laid off at UBS, I was thinking what to do next. My goal was always to be in a big corporate career, and kind of getting fired after my first year in my sort of dream banking job made me rethink what I'm doing, right? And she just told me, look, you're this naive, positive, energetic guy. I think you're much better off in a startup environment. So come join it, test it out. So I went there, I had a test day at the company. They liked me, I liked them. And that's sort of how it sucked me into it. There's just, this everything is chaotic, has to grow quickly, this vibe of getting things done, even if it's really difficult, you don't know what you're doing. It just sucked me in, and I never came back out of it.
That's great. I love it. I have the same experience, and I think maybe some of my ADHD brain, it just fits better with that. Like, I love having new projects and just trying new stuff. It sounds like now, though, you're quite established, and you've kind of become the corporate that you left behind. Can you walk me through kind of how you built this into what it is?
I mean, yeah, sure. Holycode now with more than 400 employees is quite big, I'd say. I don't think we're corporate yet at this point for a couple of reasons. One is that it's 6 different entities that work within Holycode. So we're trying to keep the groups relatively small so that they're more agile and they're more like I don't like to say family, but let's say like a sports team. Everyone knows still who they're working with and what the strengths and weaknesses are of everybody else. And so that's one of the ways that we try to keep it nimble and agile. And then, yeah, I mean, how did we get here? We started it 10 years ago as a side hustle. We founded another startup in between that we sold successfully. Then I did a CEO job for a couple of years until we saw that the company that we worked over lunch and at night and on the weekends became big enough that it could actually absorb us joining the company and really starting to push for it. So it was more of a very slow cooking meal on the side, basically.
Okay, all right. So when you got started and you were taking on these projects, what was kind of your ideal customer profile and how did that evolve over time to really become something more sustainable?
In the beginning, it was really the ICP, the ideal customer profile, was basically startup friends that also wanted to build a tech team in Eastern Europe, right? That's how it started. That's how it grew to 100-something people. And then after 5 years, we said, let's do more. So we set the vision to say from the idea to the IPO, we want to cover all technological services in one company. Whether you need it or not, that's up to you, but we're going to offer everything in one place. And that's really where we took the next step and started saying, okay, what does that mean? So we then started an ERP company implementing ERP systems because investors after Series A, B, they're like, hey, your Excel reporting, it just doesn't work. Come on, give us something more meaningful, more reliable. So that's one thing we started. Then we started a software agency to build faster MVPs. We started a no-code team to build proof of concepts very early on. We started an AI team, obviously like everybody in the world right now. Yeah, so we kept building other teams to just make sure we can cover all the areas around that, also CRM, DevOps, all these areas. So yeah, we're slowly inching towards our mission and our vision, but we're not there yet.
Okay, all right, I dig it. So kind of backing into the ERP side of the discussion, I have very little experience at the large corporate level where ERP systems are just rampant. How do you get a foothold into that? I mean, when I think ERP, I think of like SAP and these massive software projects. Are those kind of the projects that you're interfacing with, or is this like a smaller, more independent ERP systems?
Honestly, that's usually too big for us because, as you say, those are massive, right? So if you want to do an Oracle, SAP kind of ERP project, you need to be huge to absorb that. So what we do is smaller integration topics into SAP, for example. Yes, that's what we do. But we focus on Microsoft Business Central and Odoo. Microsoft Business Central is obviously from Microsoft, is more for the SMEs kind of size of companies. And Odoo as well, but Odoo is open source, has its own benefits. So those are the two things that we're trying to really focus on currently.
Okay, excellent. And so that's a perfect kind of lead in to talking about open source. Do you have a preference for working with open source, or you're pretty agnostic when it comes to the type of software you're working with?
I'm very agnostic. It doesn't really matter to me. In the end, what matters to me is the quality of software that you're getting and that you can use towards the client. What I love about the open source Odoo part is there's just a solution for everything around it, right? For everything that someone built something, the difficult part is knowing whether qualitatively it's good enough, right? That's where I think in certain areas, it's not in the core, but as further out you go with such a solution, the more you have to watch out that if you're going to use that for yourself or a client, and then it has to do with an ERP system, which is your financial area as well, you got to be really careful what you're using and what you're not using. Where if you use Microsoft BC, for example, everything that's there is tested and proved and fine, right? So it's much more rigid. It has less topics around it, but the quality is definitely there. So both of them have advantages and disadvantages. And I think it really comes down to what the customer is looking for.
Absolutely. And this parallels perfectly with the WordPress world, right? So in WordPress, we've got WordPress core, which is very solid. The security's there, the performance is there. But with WordPress, anybody can come in and build a plugin. And so you have to evaluate, hey, is this plugin going to be effective? Is it secure? So everything you're talking about there. And a lot of times, a lot of the agencies that we work with just build their own plugin for their client. And then they know for certain that it's going to be quality and good. You mentioned AI. I have to jump onto the AI at least a little bit, right? I mean, I use AI almost constantly throughout the day. How are you approaching AI with your clients at this point?
Sure. So let me just quickly jump back to what you said before, because just lately we had a client that came to us and said our WordPress page is really messed up. They built it with, I'm not going to say the country because I don't want to blame anyone, but with an agency from a different place. And then we looked at it and they had 150 plugins implemented into their page. We're like, what is this? I mean, how are you going to run this? Who is checking the security on this thing? Like, you can trash it and start over, right? So that was the craziest experience I've had when looking at a WordPress page so far. Just as a short anecdote. When it comes to AI, I mean, every client you're talking to is coming up and saying, okay, can we do this, but can we do it with AI? I'd say 80% of the cases, it's actually not AI that they need. It's just decision trees or logic that they want to have implemented, and then you slap the AI logo on it. They go to corporate and they say, yeah, we did AI, and they're fine. So in 80% of the cases, that's still the case, but I think that's going to shift fairly quickly. A year back, it was all about, implementing chatbots and helping us be more efficient with that. Now it's all about agentic AI. You also know it. It's the buzzword everyone's talking about, right? So they all want certain AI agents that do a job for you, that make things more effective or efficient. And there's awesome things you can build with it. The main problem we see is you build it, 6 months later, it's out of date. That's really the crazy part about it in this current trend or AI wave where everything is getting better at a massive rate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so it's interesting kind of backing up there about the chatbots. So we just did a survey recently just asking regular consumers about their experience with AI chatbots. And it's like over 90% of people are like, no, I can't stand these things. And because it's very obvious, right? I mean, it's almost immediate that they're reflecting to documentation, and the responses are obviously, they're not creating something new. They're just regurgitating what's already been written. Have you had any clients kind of roll back from implementing chatbots?
I think so, but I would have to check with the team, because usually once it's implemented, it's with the success team and not with me. But I think we've had a couple of them that afterwards said it didn't bring the gains that they expected. I know for one that implemented it on the website, and I think it was just a conversion killer. So they rolled it back, but for the rest of them, I actually don't know, but I think so.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's really interesting.
You can feel it. You can feel if you're talking to a human or not. It's not that hard to figure out usually.
Absolutely. And, and the point that I always make to people asking, hey, should I use AI chat is, when people are coming into support, they've already exhausted all of their options, right? They've probably checked the documentation. They might not have read it, but they've checked. And so they're trying to get like a unique response for their problem. And so I think it's important to balance those things.
I mean, one of the easy things that we learned very early on is do not let the chatbot go back to documentation. That pisses off people, right? So if you just take this out and say, no links, not linking them back to any documentation or tutorials or whatever, but really just copying the response into the response that you're giving them, already a massive improvement for the people. So that was a relatively easy one that we learned on early on, but it doesn't really solve the whole case.
Like that. And I think that as people are asking, hey, how should we implement this stuff? I think that is a really interesting thing to put in there is, don't link to documentation, be proactive, the words are failing me right now, but, think through these things a lot better, like think through how your customer's working. Laurent, I really enjoyed this. We're coming close to our time, but, before we jump off, is there anything in the next 6 to 12 months that has you really excited about the software business?
Absolutely. Another buzzword. I really want to see what happens with the whole vibe coding topic.
Okay.
There's so much heat and energy in this area. I know people that are vibe coding all the time. And for us as a software agency, this can be a curse or a blessing, both at once, right? We don't know. Ask me tomorrow morning, it might be terrifying. Ask me the day after, I might be fantastically excited. But I think there's a lot going to happen in the software coding industry with AI in the next 6 to 12 months. Do this talk again in 12 months, I might be crying. I might be partying. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Awesome. Laurent, this has been really great. I've really enjoyed our time. I hope that we speak together within the next 12 months. If people want to reach out to you or to Holycode, what is the best way for them to get in touch?
The best way is to go to holycode.com and just post us a message, or find my LinkedIn profile and write to me a direct message. Those are the two ways.
Awesome. Laurent, I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.